Yes, today we're going to talk about physical fitness again. I hope you guys aren't getting tired of me talking about this, but I'll tell you something. Physical fitness right now is more than just looking good or feeling good. There's some pretty serious health reasons right now that you want to not be carrying around extra weight, extra fat primarily. So today we're going to have one of my good friends, a great expert, Nate Palmer, is going to join me. Nate knows travelers, he knows travel nurses, he knows travel eye professionals. He's been in and around our industry and been involved in our industry for us. So we're going to have him on today to talk about eating and training for health and energy. He is a #1 selling bestseller, author, and host of a podcast, a YouTube channel. So today we're going to talk about physical fitness and why it's so important, again, on Travel Evolved. This is Travel Evolved. I'm Mark Holloway. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm really excited about today. You guys know I love talking about physical fitness. It's not, I guess it's kind of cult-like, but I'm telling you, there are some really, really important reasons right now that everybody should be extraordinarily motivated to lose fat and to get into shape. It is unhealthy, and right now it is more dangerous than it's ever been to be unhealthy and to be obese or to just be carrying around extra fat. So I wanted to have this episode on, and I'm so excited to have Nate Palmer join us. Nate is Nate's a number one best-selling author. He has a podcast, a YouTube channel. He's a physical fitness expert. You know, I joke around a lot. I talk a lot about physical fitness, and I'm really just regurgitating, as you guys know, the stuff that I read and hear, and I qualify it a lot, saying I'm not an expert. This is what I've seen, this is what I've read, this is what works for me. Nate's very similar to that, except for he is kind of an expert. I mean, he is an expert. So I'm really excited to actually have somebody on here who I know knows what he's talking about. He's got books and people that follow him like crazy because he studies this. This is his life. And his life is to try to help change other people's lives. So right now, it's like I said, it is so important. It always is. But without getting political, right now, the one thing we can say is that it's important that people are doing their best to get healthy. We can talk all about all the politics and things that are going on, but here's one thing that I think everyone out there will agree with, and that is that being healthy and having less body fat is incredibly important. Always is. Right now, it's probably more important than it's ever been. We could be talking life and death. It's not a political thing to know that people that are obese or close to obese or morbidly obese are struggling more than anybody else is right now. With COVID, I'll just throw it out there and say what I'm talking about. It is pretty irrefutable. Yes, there's other things going on, but that is one thing we all could probably agree on, that if we were to start focusing on losing weight as a society and as a country, and as I mean, because a lot of people listen to us outside of this country, it can't be a bad thing. It's got to be something that would move us all into a good direction. So we're not going to talk about that primarily today, but I do want to have Nate on because he's just, again, he and I have been talking for a bit here, and he's got some really good, super easy tips and philosophies that I think will get people going. And you know, one of the things that's important is that, you know, he's a best-selling author of the $1 Million Body Workout. I'm sorry, not workout, $1 Million Body Method. I knew I'd butcher that. $1 Million Body Method. He's got a podcast called the same thing, a YouTube channel that he's got a different name for the YouTube channel, and a Facebook group. But I'd love you guys to check this out, and I hope that you're going to enjoy Nate's interview today. He's a great talk, and he understands a lot of different things about physical fitness, about energy primarily, and how to use that to have physical fitness. His philosophy is kind of a little bit differently, where he makes it easy, where he's focusing more on your energy level, focusing more on making yourself feel good, and then the weight loss and the looking better just kind of comes naturally because you're more energized, you're more motivated. So first of all, as always, guys, I want to thank everyone for subscribing to our channel. Again, my goal of this thing is to get a really good variety of different topics every week, all kind of going along the same theme of how to help a traveling healthcare professional. I always do that anymore. So when I was talking with Nate, and again, knowing his background, Nate has been involved with some nursing conventions and travel conventions before. Some of you may recognize him. You've seen him around if you've been to Vegas and other places like that. So he's going to join me today, and I got him in the green room here. We're going to get right to it because I know he's super busy. But he's going to join me. We're going to talk a lot about his book. And again, I want to really delve into eating and training for health and energy. And that's what we're going to focus on because it's really the key to everything. And if nothing else, I hope some of you take, I guess, some of the things we talk about off and on Travel Evolved. And now we've got an expert on to really talk about it. So let me jump right into it because I know I want to spend some time with Nate and get this kind of moving. So I'm going to switch from this mic to the other mic. And by the way, it does change the way the mics sound, but we're going to go to this one. It's probably a little bit more, I think it's more sensitive, but I definitely tell the difference. But anyway, let me pull Nate up and let's kind of get going and see if we can get this conversation. I think you guys are going to really like this. Hey Nate, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Mark. Super excited to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, absolutely. Good. Glad to have you. It's about time I had someone that actually knew what they were talking about besides just me, and I'm just going off of experts like you. So it's nice to have a real live person that isn't just me regurgitating what everybody else says about health and nutrition. So obviously we're going to talk about eating and training for health and energy today. It's a topic near and dear to me. I know you've got a lot of experience with travelers. I know you've actually worked with, I think, nurses or maybe allied professionals or both. So you probably are one of our most recent guests that probably really understands our audience better than most people. So obviously, #1 bestseller with the $1 Million Body Method, which I think is excellent. I'm in the yep, thank you. And we're going to throw some stuff there. I just started reading it, and we'll get some plugs in where people can get it and hear about it. But let's just jump right in. I guess first of all, the first kind of naive question I want to talk to you about is what made you kind of decide to get into, fitness, become a fitness expert, and really get into this and change your life, your body, your mental and physical outlook on everything?
Well, how deep do you want to go? Do you want to go back to like middle school right now? We can do it.
Well, yeah. I guess if it's been a lifelong obsession or a lifelong interest, let's do that. Let's go back to where it started.
Cool. So I think like the earliest time I really thought about this was I was 11 years old or 12 years old, and my mom had gone to school to drop my sisters off. They're younger than me, and so I'm sitting at home by myself getting ready for my school, and I get a knock on the door, and it's someone I'd never seen before, and I was like, I'm not going to let him in. See him come around the back, and my dog's like, "What's up? You look at my new best friend." And so not a good guard dog. And I'm still like, why is the guy in my backyard? Is he working? Like, what's up? And just don't do anything about it. And then I hear him break a window.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, that's a really bad sign, actually. So I grab as like 12-year-old brain, I'm like, don't want to get in trouble with the police. Do want to grab a steak knife out of the knife block, go in my room and press the little little lock on my door, and then hide under my bed with a steak knife. And I think like if someone puts their face down here, I'll probably just stab them in the face. But I'm scared, man. I'm scared out of my mind. I'm 11 or 12 and just feeling completely powerless. And I remember just that sensation. And he eventually comes down the hallway and he bangs on my door, and I'm like peeing myself. I'm just like so scared. Anyways, steals the DVD player. That's how you know it's the 90s. And he takes off. And I just remember feeling like so powerless and vowing to myself to never let anyone else make me feel like that again. And I thought again, like, well, what are my options here? And I came up with two things. Number one, buy a ton of knives. I was like, okay, got that. Check. Right. It's early days of eBay. No one's checking IDs, so I was just buying knives on eBay.
Right.
And then I'm also like, you know what? If I just install like a bunch of just like gorilla armor on myself and just get like really meaty and muscly, no one will ever mess with me again. Get a man bun, get some tattoos, like that'll show them.
Right.
And so, like, I don't know if you can tell, but I don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger right now. I know it's surprising, but so it never really came. That's a good point.
Anymore.
So it never really came.
We
to
all can look
fruition
like
of,
Arnold and Sylvester now, but like now. That's my new goal, is to look like Sylvester Stallone now.
Honestly, Mike, if you could look like them when you're in your 70s, like, you're doing great.
Absolutely.
So it was. I never really got to the point where I was like, I'm so big and scary and intimidating. But I also realized along the way that it's not about how you look on the outside. I know a lot of guys who are, 260-pound monsters who are still dealing with their childhood trauma, and I've never really moved past that. So what ended up happening is my focus shifted, and because I fell in love with the idea of like personal development and self-improvement, more so than I fell in love with the idea of having like a really thick suit of muscle armor that no one will ever be able to hurt me again, because that's not realistic.
No.
So my obsession then switched from like being an intimidating human to being someone who improves every single day, who strives to get better, because I saw the fruits of that labor. And what I really liked about it, Mark, was like, it's me versus me. No one else can get in my way. And I literally can't lose at this if I don't quit. So my only problem, my only struggle, the only thing I had to focus on was not quitting. And even if my progress is slow, even if it takes me 10 times as long as it takes someone else, which it does in a lot of cases, physically, building my business, doing all these other things, like it takes me longer because maybe I'm slow, I don't know. But I realized that without quitting or giving up, success was assured. And that is so powerful. And that's the gift that I want to give to my clients, as well as like something that I take very seriously.
That's really well said, and I don't think I've ever, I guess, vocalized anything like that on this. I do a lot of my personal life, but I agree with you. It's a really excellent point that stop comparing yourself to every people else at the gym, everybody else who's an entrepreneur, everyone else who's losing weight or getting healthy or cutting out sugar or doing the things that we're going to talk about here. It is a win-win, because eventually, if you stick with it, you cannot lose. It's really well said, and I think it's something that, in our society, we just always compare ourselves to other people, right? You and I'm way older than you. You and I are gonna, figure out who's got more. I struggle with my legs, right? That's just my hereditary, right? So I that's where I hate leg day. So it's my least favorite day, but it's my most important day. And I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, okay, here it is. So there are things that I love going to the gym for certain things that are easy, that look already good. And so, we all focus on that. But the fact is, focusing on things that you can always improve, you can't lose. I love that. It's a great philosophy. What a hell of a story, by the way. That is a wild one. Didn't know we were going to talk about that.
Yeah, it was a weird time, but I never even realized what kind of how transformative that was and what that did to my brain up until just a couple of years ago, and I'm reflecting on the journey, and people are like, why did you get into this in the first place? And I'm like, I think I wanted to be bigger, and then I started thinking about it. I was like, no, it came out of a really visceral kind of scary place, and I'm really super excited that I was able to transform that into something positive, because I feel like so often fitness is fear-based, right? I'm afraid of people judging me. I'm afraid of being fat. I'm afraid of looking this way. And we have this negative track that plays in the back of our mind. We're not good enough. You need to fit in society's box. You need to do these sorts of things. So fitness starts as running away from something. But at the end of the day, you can't have a lean physique with healthy, great energy if you're always running from. You have to eventually switch your philosophy to running towards. So I think that that's kind of my story, that's my history, and I love to help people get to that point in their own training journey where they're running towards a PR in their 5K, or running towards a new hike that they've never been able to complete before, running towards amazing energy so they have they're able to show up big time for their family. And once you can connect fitness to those positive things, it becomes so much easier to stay on it, especially once you get to the point where you're well, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not fat anymore. I'm not this, we have to shift our alignment, shift our perception.
It's perfect, and exactly right. You and I talked about before, healthcare professionals, they take care of everybody else. I've said this on many different things. They oftentimes don't take care of themselves. They're not focused on themselves. And one of the things that you talk about in obviously in the $1 Million Body Method, is really going how to get that professional to be able to really find the time to be able to take care of themselves and get the food and get the exercises and things that are important, both mentally and physically, that they need. So creating that energy on demand, like you say in the book. And I think that's, I guess, let's kind of delve into that aspect of it. Let's see where it takes us. But remember, as you know, like I said, you know more than anybody else, these are people that are traveling. They're oftentimes away from their home for, I had a gal tell me a couple of days ago that she hadn't been home for 4 years. Whoa. Literally from assignment to assignment, and it just hadn't made her way back to what home was for her. So how do these men and women run toward that better overall, I guess, energy and physical fitness when they're on the road so often?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that, like, I could be like, hey, here's a variety of tactics for travelers who, here's how to set up something in your house, or make sure you prioritize this before a 12-hour shift, or how to get it in on your off day. And there's a lot of tactics, but also I don't think those are quite as important as the first step, which is having a mindset shift around what you're kind of running towards. Because like I think one of the big things that separates $1 Million Body Method from like keto or a lot of other diets, Atkins, Weight Watchers, whatever, is that those are all focused on like becoming less. And there's only a certain point where you can only become less to a certain point until you're like, your metabolism's too low, your calories are too restricted, you're trying to like burn off or punish yourself for the food you're eating. And it just doesn't work. It's not motivating. It's not going to keep you going long term. So we have to change our ideas around fitness as to like, how can I get better? How can I have more energy? How can I show up bigger for the people that I love, for my patients, for like the people that I'm working with? How can I support the other nurses in my unit? Right. Because I think because like you said, nurses and people in the medical profession will always, always, always do more for someone else than they do for themselves. So we have to reframe. How does my energy impact those around me? How does my energy affect my patients? And when it comes down to that, and you're like, okay, my choice is I can have this Big Mac for lunch, or I can have this salad from like Burger King or whatever it is. Which one is going to serve my patients better? Which one's going to enable me to have the energy, the vitality, the like enthusiasm that's going to make someone's life better? Right? So like it's not about here's this tip and like, oh, all you've been missing is you just didn't have a TRX. Like, yeah, get a TRX and like everything will be solved. You have to shift the question you ask before any of the other stuff makes sense or any of that's going to pay off. Because like, yeah, you might do a TRX, you might get a workout going, and it lasts you 3 weeks. But until that question changes, it's not going to be a lifestyle. It's not going to be a habit.
So taking the first step, and to what you said a few minutes ago, here's the great news for everybody out there who's watching and listening to us is that you will get better no matter what little step you're taking. Anything. If you've made that mental decision that I'm going to do something different, I'm going to start to change, and everybody out there who's listening to you right now can make that decision. No matter what your level of success is, it's going to be better than it is today. Unless you just don't do anything unless you don't change a thing. But any little thing is going to be that way. And what I found, and tell me if you found this too with other people that you've worked with, taking a first step, whatever that may be. Maybe it's I'm going to start walking, or maybe it's I'm going to get rid of the fast food and I'm going to do something maybe bigger, like I'm going to meal prep, or I'm just going to avoid going to the cafeteria. It becomes a little bit infectious, and you start to go, "This is good." Now maybe I'm going to try something. Maybe I'm going to not just go for a walk, but I'm going to go for a walk and maybe do a little bit of lightweight or something like that.
Yeah, because I think of that as momentum, right? Like if you think about like a locomotive. So like Mark, you're at a train yard. They got a locomotive sitting there. What do they do to keep it from rolling? They put a little block in front of the wheel, right? Mm-hmm. Just like this little rinky-dink piece of wood, and then it's going to hold that locomotive in place. No momentum, no movement. You take a locomotive moving at 60 miles per hour, you throw a brick wall in front of it, it's smashing through the brick wall. It has momentum, it's moving forward. Right. So you wake up in the morning and you do something simple for your health. You get 32 ounces of water in. That's one of the first thing I call it. It's like the first of my daily investments. You get some water in, it's easy, it's simple, and it gives you the W for the day. You started off your day with a health mindset and a win.
Right.
Then you go for the little walk, and you're like, okay, I got another win. And you start stacking these wins and building this momentum, and soon it's like an addictive thing where you're like, I feel better. My clothes are fitting better. My energy's up. I'm crushing it at work. I'm like, the amount of like the level of care I'm delivering is just so much better. I'm not feeling tired at like in the afternoons of like three-quarters of the way through a 12-hour shift. Like I feel like Superman, and that's when you start like really allowing yourself to do those harder things. Okay, now maybe you can work in a workout. Maybe you can do more meal prep. But starting off with just those little wins to stack your wins and build momentum, so critical.
You talk about in the book, you mentioned training should make you feel better, not necessarily skinnier. I mean, that's a way it's true. It could lead to that, but I think there's a lot of people out there that sit there and go, okay, here's where I'm at in my life. Maybe I am, very heavy. Maybe I'm just really struggled with getting this weight off. So the last 20 years, I've just kind of given up, and I've not. The first goal really is, you're talking about water, right? There's that. We're talking about getting rid of super high fat, terrible foods that really hurt you, destroy your energy, create, all kinds of problems with down to your cellular level. And taking those things out, that's the first step. You're just going to feel better. And who doesn't want to feel better? Forget about what you look like you said. We're also trained to have to, we're trying to keep up with the next guy or gal. Forget about that. It is, number one, you're going to feel great. And why would you not want to feel better? Less pains, less aches, waking up. As you're getting older, you're actually having less trouble, taking your first steps out of bed. You're younger than I am, but that does happen when you get to be, 50. It's like, oh my gosh, but all of a sudden you start walking, you start stretching some of those the tendons, and you get, whether you're jumping around and doing something like plyometric or you're just getting out there exercising, you start to actually feel better, and that's a wonderful first result. Forget about the fat loss, right, like you say in your book.
Yeah, absolutely. And because this is the craziest thing, Mark, and like you're in shape, you've been in shape for a long time, and I think sometimes we can forget what it feels like, when you are heavier, when you aren't eating healthy, when you aren't prioritizing your energy and like the quality of the food. I've had clients though who have lost like 40 pounds and been like, I can't believe how I used to feel. Right from where I'm sitting right now, that felt like I had the flu, and I had it for years. And so like you wake up, like you said, you're aching, your back hurts, your knees hurt. And every pound you drop, that's an additional 4 pounds of pressure off your knees, by the way. So
right.
all these things add up, and they make such a big difference. So if you could wake up tomorrow and feel like 5 times better, why wouldn't you do that? And it's just a couple decisions away for you.
You're telling me that, and again, you're saying that you've got clients and people that that have felt so bad for so long that they actually didn't even realize.
They thought it was just being an adult.
Wow, that's crazy. So I'm hoping that someone out there. Again, I always say in my podcast, if we teach one person or touch one person that makes a difference, that's a successful podcast, right? That's a successful YouTube episode. And I'm going to direct people to both of those things on your platform as well if they're interested in what we're talking about today. But that's really a crazy thing for, like I said, I've been fortunate enough. I've focused on physical fitness for probably 25, 30 years, and off and on, even when I was younger. When I was in college, I started drinking beer, but I'd still go to the gym, but I was drinking beer. And even in high school, I think I started it too. And I think my worst time frame was when my wife and I had our kids were young. I was focused on them. She was, struggling, and she'll admit freely she struggled with losing baby fat. We had 2 kids, relatively quickly, and she struggled with that. And then all of a sudden we started going, hey, okay, we're out of diapers, and we can start to focus back on ourselves a little bit, and we both did. But to me, that's just an amazing statement. I think there's a lot of people out there that may not realize that you don't have to settle for the way you feel. If I put on 5 pounds, I'm not joking, a pair of dress pants don't feel comfortable to me all of a sudden. All of a sudden, wow, and I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable all day from just a little bit of mid, lower belly body fat, and that small amount makes me instantly feel like, I don't like it. So like Thanksgiving and those things, the last couple of years I've focused on saying I am not going to eat that piece of pumpkin pie because I know it's a catalyst for me. 5 pounds at my age is really hard to take off, but you just focus on it. So that's really wild. So everybody out there that's listening to you, that really think about, I guess, where you are. Think about if you're uncomfortable in your skin, if you're uncomfortable walking around the facility, and there are aches and pains and hurt, how you can change that and instantly start to feel better.
because like the diet that I promote here is, I'm not going to say is like, oh, that's the number one anti-inflammation diet, but we eliminate a ton of like inflammation and like bloat causing foods, which can just like, have you ever like had like a low back injury or a neck injury, Mark?
I have tweaked my middle to lower back doing stupid close grip pull-ups and stuff, and so I've never had a neck injury. I've never been in a car accident where it's been an injury. It's been self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Usually age-related. Usually doing something before I've warmed up, and also I'm like and it affects me for. I remember a couple times it affected me for weeks.
And then during those weeks, especially the first couple days, how's your energy? How's your mindset?
It's horrible, and then I can't do anything else, and it affects stuff. I mean, I've got. Trust me, I hurt myself all the time. I've got a bad shoulder, and I have to be careful that it doesn't affect literally my forearms, because I'm compensating when I'm doing things. So I go to massage therapy. I've been needled a ton to get rid of some of that stuff. So yeah, it affects everything, I think, when you start to hurt.
And I think that that a lot of people just kind of walk around and think this is normal. I just feel like not comfortable, like that feeling of like not fitting into your pants, having like a neck injury, you can't quite turn all the way around. These things, like, it adds up, and it steals from us. It steals our energy, it steals our vitality, it steals our enthusiasm. And a lot of these are paper tigers, Mark. They're false threats, because we can eliminate so much of them just by changing small amounts of the food we eat, or our little habits, or how much we're moving. So and I always tell people, like, water and walking, those two are free, man. Like, and those, for most people, if all we did was develop a better hydration habit and go walk more, especially for travelers, I could tell you the greatest workouts in the world and how to do a Bulgarian split squat and make sure your hip angle is like this. But honestly, like, the lowest barrier of entry, biggest ROI activities we could do is just drink a gallon of water, walk 30 minutes every day. And man, that's gonna change your life. And if you don't believe it, do it for a week, and if it didn't work, I'll send you a video of me doing 50 burpees.
I can absolutely attest to that, because my wife is a great example. My wife is not a big exercise person. She doesn't like to lift weights or go to the gym and do something like that. She did when she was younger, but what she does, she'll notice when she's out in California in the summertime, we go for a walk once or twice a day. That's what we do. We're going to go walking, because it's more things to see. And when we go back to Colorado, she's like, I need to get on a walk, but it's cold and whatever. But she will attest that she's always in the best shape. Not because of what she's eating, it's because the one thing she's changing is just that 30 to 45 minute walk. And we do it at a pretty quick pace, but we love it. We talk, it's good time together. But absolutely, it absolutely does that. So let's talk about building that nutritional framework. I don't want to give away your book or anything, but just a couple of kind of bullet points of the nutritional framework, about doing a diet. We talk about the keto and things like that, and I'm with you. I mean, I think a lot of these things are temporary, and they can end up, some of them can actually end up, I believe, they actually end up making you in worse shape when you get off them, and it's different. But let's tell our listeners just a couple. I mean, building that nutrition framework that you talk about, can you give us some kind of quick, I mean, water's one of them, some quick kind of bullet points that would be some good 36,000 foot starts for some of our folks to kind of get some things kind of moving in that direction?
Yeah, and honestly, I don't mind giving away like the entirety of my book. Like, I know people are going to want to read this book for the story of me getting beat up by a meth head. Like, that's the draw here. Let's talk about the framework.
Right.
Because I feel like a lot of coaches will write books that are like, here is some pieces, but you need to buy my program to get all of them. I don't know if I'm going to be in fitness in 10 years, and I also don't want to have a standalone product or something that's going to change people's lives. So I give it all away in here. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free on Amazon anyway. So
saw that.
It's
actually free so people can get it on Kindle, and that's awesome.
Yeah. And if you don't have that, it's like $2. So
yeah.
And again, if you don't like it, I'll give you your money back, and don't just email me.
There you go.
You're like, man, this guy's man bun? No thanks. Get that money back. I'm here for it. So yeah, the nutritional framework that I like to adhere to, I break this down into what I call the 7 daily investments, because I like to think about things in terms of ROI. What's my return on my investment? Because like you said, if you do keto, like, that can be positive for a lot of people. I don't prefer it, but it's also expensive. I don't think the return is as great as the cost. The juice is not worth the squeeze. With this, I try to boil things down into the most simple, bare bones things that are going to give you the best return on your investment. So like, Mark, when you're talking about your shoulder, and I'm thinking about how I have a program for you, I'd make sure that you're doing very simple, basic exercises and executing at a very high level. So like, for me, like, you got shoulder pain, we're going to be working on dumbbell rows really hard, okay? Really working the scapula, making sure that your mid traps are really activated, and which is like the most boring, simple exercise of all time, but it's going to give you the highest ROI No need to get fancy. No need to do cables. No need to do like weird, like anything, like kipping pull-ups. So
Right.
all that being said, I also have 2 little kids at home. My daughter's 3, my son's 6 months. So my morning routine, I used to do the Hal Elrod Savers. This guy's laughing.
I'm laughing at you because it gets easier, Nate.
Can you tell that I'm a little tired?
It gets easier. I'm just telling you. I'm laughing with you. I've been there.
Yeah. My wife is an absolute rock star, though, dude. Like she holds the family down. So I have a really easy, to be honest with you.
There you go.
But like, so for my morning routine, I used to do the savers. I used to do like silence and meditation and affirmations and reading and scribing and exercise and all these things. My morning routine took me an hour, and I felt great, and it was so wonderful. It doesn't happen for me anymore. When we go off, things kick off. My daughter's pounding on the door. Sounds like the police is like in my house at 6 a.m. Like it's just
Right.
wild. So my morning routine is this: 32 ounces of water, 60 seconds of explosive movement, jumping jacks, toe pops, jumping on a trampoline. It takes me 90 seconds to do both of those things, and I feel great. I always feel great. It's awesome. It's so easy. No affirmations, no like burning like sage or having to do ayahuasca in the morning and eat
Choking down apple cider vinegar.
Right. Yeah. Don't need to do any of that stuff. So that's where my mind is at with a lot of this framework stuff. So the second thing, from a nutritional standpoint, what we need to be doing in the morning, and there's a lot of reasons for this. If you want to get into it or you want to like debate about it, just check the book out first. But proteins and fats in the morning, high quality proteins, high quality fats, basically gives you time release energy all day and helps your body understand, hey, we don't need to burn carbs for energy, we'll burn some fats. So it gives you kind of some of the benefits of keto without having to eat butter in your coffee, which is categorically stupid. For lunch, again, like most of us are eating high carbs, heavy, rich, high fat foods, which is just putting us under the table. No one's ever had a Chipotle burrito, or like you said, Mark, like you eat a big Thanksgiving dinner and you're not like, hey, let's go play pickup basketball. You're like, let me just sit here and watch the Detroit Lions lose at football again. Like that's what we're trying to do.
Every year. That was my hometown team. I was a kid.
So we want to make sure that the foods we're eating is, again, we're thinking about in terms of what am I going to eat right now that's going to give me energy, enthusiasm, and help me care for those around me. And the best way to do that in the afternoon is having a high protein, high vegetable content. Really giving yourself the satiety, the rebuild and repair of the protein, the nutrient density, the vitamins and minerals of eating a bunch of carrots, some celery, like bright, different colored, multicolored foods. Like you're going to feel better. You're going to not be stuffed. You're going to feel light on your feet. It changes everything. And then for dinner, what do we want from dinner? Well, we don't want to be energized after dinner and be like, woo, let's go. Like we want to be able to kind of switch from that like sympathetic nervous system. That's like, if there's a spectrum, right? Sympathetic is like fight or flight. Parasympathetic is rest and digest, So we want to be like, if we're like here all day kind of for work and just being up, mental acuity, focus, I'm going to shift that over. Easy way to do that, and this is my favorite thing about my program, is we're having a high protein, high vegetable, high carbohydrate dinner. So in the program, I really, like for the first 28 days, I say go rice and potatoes. Really low inflammation causing foods, very simple, not a lot to them. So what we want there is to help our bodies shift to that parasympathetic dominance where we are feeling a little bit more tired. We're harnessing that Chipotle burrito Thanksgiving sensation, using it to our advantage to sleep deeper, wake up with more energy, feeling better.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. And I've had a couple people tell me
what a lot of people preach.
Some of your, I've had guys tell me that they think that your caloric intake should actually decrease as the day goes on, that breakfast is more important as you move 5. There's different philosophies on that too, that it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, it is for, you got to have carbs, but they have to be good carbs, and they can't be all the time. Otherwise you're gonna carb bonk, and it's gonna be that whole deal. Proteins, I think, and tell me what you think about this. I don't know if you've looked at this before, but I keep reading a lot as you get older. Proteins are become more and more important in your life as you get older. That you actually you need them. I need more protein in my body than you need it, because I just am. I'm older than you by far. It's just one of those things that my body is craving that. And it's weird, as we get older, sometimes our appetite decreases, and we want the fast reward and so the quick fix. And so a traveler may go down to the cafeteria and get something that tastes good or looks good, And what they really need to be doing is getting the chicken breast or grabbing something that's going to give them the protein to just get through the day and keep their energy at a good level.
I'm glad you said that about the protein requirements increasing as you get older. There's a lot of misinformation about protein out there, and it always makes me so sad because it's like the number one best macronutrient. And then like as far as like a oversimplified nutritional soundbite, you can't turn protein into fat. You can. It's really expensive. So you like no one's ever been like, oh man, I had so many chicken breasts, I'm just gaining weight. Never happens.
Right.
Never happens.
Right.
So having a protein shake, prioritizing protein in every single meal, and like in the cafeterias, you got options. You can be like, can I have that without the bun? And they'll give it to you because people are nice to you. You're working in the hospital. So don't be afraid to be like, oh well, there was nothing there. Yes, there was. You just had to maybe be a little bit more assertive, a little bit more like ask for the things that you need. And then, man, Mark, like you said, if every meal needs to revolve around a protein, right? And you heard that from me: proteins, fats, proteins, veggies, protein, veggie, carb. Like it has to be a protein first. And if honestly there's no protein in the meal, if you're having a snack that doesn't have protein in it, don't have it. Don't have it. That's the rule.
Absolutely.
And if you can apply that rule, you're gonna do better than 95% of people out there who are on diets.
Yeah. Really interesting. So is there, I mean, again, is there a secret weapon for fat loss?
I think so. Well, I think there's two. And one of them's more of a mindset shift, and then the other one I'll give you is real tactical. So like number one, I think that the thing that like you said, there's some diets out there that say breakfast most important meal of the day. Breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper. Like you've heard that one before. There's intermittent fasting, no breakfast at all, and then we have a big lunch and then dinner. Like there's a lot of philosophies, and I'm not here to say my philosophy is right and everything else is wrong. I will tell you though that my philosophy is the best, hands down, at helping people create more energy. And so I think that one of the secret weapons to fat loss is not focusing on less, losing, dropping, decreasing, cutting calories. It's focused on increasing energy, improving how you feel, improving form and function. And when you can do that, it's like magic how the fat just drops off. The way this was born, Mark, was I had a client here in Phoenix. He's starting a new business, dad of 4, great guy, but had like 30, 40 pounds to lose. And I was like, let's work out, let's do these things. And he's like, dude, I do not have time. I'm driving around 13, 14 hours a day. I don't have time. And I think a lot of travelers can relate to this, right? Or just any nurse. You're working these long shifts. You don't have time to just like go get a workout in like whenever you want to. So he was like, listen, you need to help me with my energy. I need nutrition that can help me stay focused on my clients in the morning, go in the boardroom in the morning, and my kids in the afternoon when I get home. And he's like, I've been sitting on the couch watching ESPN for 30 minutes just to recover from the day, drinking 4 Monsters a day. And so he's like, help me with my energy. So okay, I was like, great. Put together a plan based around, and he's like, by the way, I need to eat out. I need to eat at a fast food restaurant every day. That's gonna happen. Figure it out. So we did. We built a plan out around it. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So like same thing. Like I'm eating at a cafeteria every day. Figure it out. Well, great. I got you. So we shifted his focus to being like eating for energy. What is like exactly the way I laid out. I'm like, we just talked through it all, right? It's all on the podcast. It's all on YouTube. And what he said is like 2 months later, 60 days. He goes, dude, my energy has never been this good before. I feel incredible. It's so great to show up at home and be there for my kids. By the way, I lost 22 pounds the last 2 months. And I was like,
right.
We might be onto something here.
Yeah.
So I think that number one is changing our like philosophy, like the Western philosophy on diet is lose weight so you can fit into your skinny pants,
Right.
And that's just a harder way of looking at it that doesn't lead to long-term sustainable results. I think this way is better because who doesn't want energy all the time? Not just like, oh, I want to be skinny for this wedding. I want to look good in a swimsuit for Hawaii. No, we want like fatigue makes cowards of all men. So when we're fatigued, when we're low on energy, we just make worse decisions. We're just worse humans. We have energy, we can rise, we can be the best versions of ourselves. So it's always a good thing to look at and kind of like make that the paragon.
It's almost kind of like the philosophy of if you have some muscle mass on you, no matter what it is, you're going to burn more calories because the muscles take more to sustain. So you're burning fat while you're sleeping because your body's taking care of those muscles that you just worked out. So even the little bit of exercise. So this philosophy is really similar. In other words, and I like it. I mean, I'm thinking about this as you're talking. It's get your energy level up. Your body will take care of it because you're going to be moving. You're going to have more energy. The weight loss is almost kind of like a benefit of the higher energy as opposed to the other way around.
Yes, and I think that's just counter to most people's philosophy. I'll drop weight and then I'll feel better afterwards. Or I'll just keep crushing Red Bulls.
It's not being forced at us like the other philosophy. So it is a different thought, and I think a pretty logical one if you really step back and look at it.
Yeah, and I got studies and I've done the research and I have a lot of the scientific backing to this. Mm-hmm. But like you said, when you just think about it, it makes a lot of sense. It's it is more intuitive than I think that fitness is convoluted, right? There's so much out there. Oh my God, I read this quote from Tracy Anderson. She's some famous trainer. And she was talking about how narrow grips build feminine muscles and wide grips build bulky masculine muscles, which is the dumbest thing I maybe have ever heard in my entire life. And she's a celebrity trainer with a huge following. So many more people know about Tracy Anderson than know about Nate Palmer. And she has this platform where she's just lampooning the fitness industry. It's disgusting. It makes me so mad. So how are people going to push through the nonsense and the noise when all of our thought leaders are saying stupid garbage like that? So I had to write a book about it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because when I look for people that I'm going to get my advice from, I look for guys like you. I look for people that are in shape, that look healthy, that are improving themselves. And again, I'm looking at them physically. I have no choice. I'm I think I'll take advice from that guy as opposed to the doctor who he or she's maybe a little bit heavy or overweight or looks like they're unhealthy. And I see a lot of those people on there on YouTube and everything else giving advice. I'm going, do you take your own advice? Because it doesn't look like you do. So maybe I'm just being the typical YouTube searcher. But when I see a guy, especially a guy in his 50s like I am, and I say, okay, here's a guy that clearly is doing something right. It looks natural, first of all. It doesn't look like he's unnatural. That's the kind of shape I'd like to either adhere to or get to or stay at. I'm going to kind of follow what they do, and that's where I get a lot of my stuff. And I don't listen to just one person. I kind of mix it up and like you said, make some judgments on my own. But it's that's how I learned about the thing I want to talk to you next about, and that is really about sugar, because that was my vice, Nate. I was sitting there going, okay, I'm eating healthy, but man, at night, I said this out loud in a lot of stuff. My vice, I flippin' love Jelly Bellies. They're I think they're like heroin. If you like heroin, I don't like heroin. I've never tried heroin. But to me, that's what it was. My kids would get them. I'd be like, hey, where'd the jelly beans go, Dad? I have no idea. And it became one of these things where, and I started realizing that I was eating a ton of sugar. It wasn't during the daytime. It was at night when I'd have these cravings, and it became a real big thing for me. And I'm proud to tell you, I don't have any sugar in my body at all right now. None. Zero. I don't eat anything sugar. And I did it by going into sugar-free stuff, which I said it a long time, maybe a few months ago, which I understand is also not good for you. A lot of chemicals and everything else in there. But it was a good catalyst for me to finally go, all right, I don't have the sugar cravings, because honestly, the sugar-free stuff tastes like garbage. So it was easier to kick that once I'd moved into that level. So I'm just giving some people tips. For me, that was a great way for me to kick sugar, and I have found that I have more energy. I know there's some other things. Cancer loves sugar. It's everyone knows that. There's a lot of reasons why processed sugar is bad for us. And I think anybody listening to it can't be alive on this planet without hearing that that's the case. But let's talk about sugar and how bad it is for you, and I guess what people can do to maybe recognize if they need to be detoxed from sugar.
Yeah. So I like what you said about shifting to sugar-free versions. I think that again, there's a lot of misinformation where people are like, oh, well, diet soda, that's worse for you than regular soda. Well, that's not what science says, and the results are inconclusive at best. So I'd much rather have my clients drinking Diet Cokes than drinking Cokes. Yes, there's chemicals in there. Yes, sucralose maybe have some long-term effects, but we know for a fact that sugar will kill you. So if it comes down to if you're I'm gonna have I should have a Coke rather than Diet Coke, have the Diet Coke. Have the sugar-free
Diet
jelly.
Coke tastes like garbage. Maybe you'll drink less of it. Right? If you don't
Some people
like
love
that
Diet
taste.
Coke. I don't know.
Oh, I can't. I've never been a diet any diet of any kind drinker. I've always thought it tasted terrible, which is why I've never been a soda guy. I was not a vice. My ice cream's not a vice. I mean, it was just
the Jelly Bellies.
Well, things like that, Mike and Ike's, those kinds of things, man.
I'm a big baked goods fan. So you put like cookies, like breads, like that sort of thing in my house. That's going to disappear. So one of the big tricks for me is I can't have that in the house. Because if it's in the house, it's going to get ate, and if it's not in the house, it's very hard to eat it.
Right.
So that's like the easiest possible thing. You're addicted to Jelly Bellies? Well, don't have them at home, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. Why tempt yourself? If you know you have an addiction, like if you're like, man, I'm an alcoholic, I have a problem. Don't keep vodka in the house.
Right.
Why tempt fate?
Right, exactly.
As you get later in the day, you get tired. That decision fatigue sets in. It becomes easier to be like, if you ever found yourself like looking in the fridge like for the fourth time, and you're like. Standards get lower every single time. First you're like, let me have something like, is there anything good in here? And like by the fourth time you're like, I guess I'll have 2 grapes and a piece of sliced cheese. Like
it just isn't changing, so I'll start making something else.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, but like to your point about sugar, with the bacteria in our stomach, like I said, it feeds on sugar. Cancer feeds on sugar, and what's crazy with the bacteria in our stomach is that the more you feed it, the more access it has to your brain to signal this hormone called leptin to be like, yo, let's get some more sugar. So like this manifests a lot in like cravings that we have, like 10:30 a.m., 2:30 p.m. when we're a little tired, a little hungry, and that our sugar's like, yo, can we get a little sugar? And instead of having like 6 blueberries like we probably should, we're like, I'll just have a donut, a little energy, right? Because when we're tired, when we're fatigued, it's easy. Like our body craves more sugar because it's like, let's fast energy, let's get some. So if you find that you are having cravings, I think the main times are like hour or two after breakfast, hour or two after lunch, and then an hour or two after dinner. If you're having cravings for sugar at that point, you probably need to detox your body. And this goes to like back to kind of what we were talking about earlier with one tactical thing that is very easy to do to trigger fat loss on demand. It's super powerful for travelers too, because this goes in line with their work schedule. Is a 24-hour fast. A 24-hour fast, I'm a big proponent of fasting, but I think that a 24-hour fast is better than a 16-hour fast. And one good reason for that is that you get 3.5 times the benefit of the autophagy, of the repairing and rebuilding of the broken down cells with a 24 hours than you do with 16. So you get 3.5 days worth of 16-hour fasts in just one 24-hour fast. Plus, by minimizing the amount of food you take over the 24 hours, your stomach will shrink slightly, and that bacteria will stop having so much access to telling your body, hey, we need some food. Really, the biggest sugar cravings come when we are continuing to feed ourselves low-grade amounts of sugar, to the point where the rice, the potatoes that we're having, our body's like, yeah, that's sugar, let's get some more. But if you detox from that processed sugar, it's no big deal to have oats or rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes. Your body's not going to turn that into like massive cravings later on. Right. So if you are having those cravings, a 24-hour fast is a great way to do it, or to get rid of it. And you can do that a 24-hour fast once every other week, once a week, like occasionally as needed. But it also is such a great way to wake up feeling leaner and looking leaner. And here's the way I like to do this, because I don't like to go no food all day, until tomorrow. I like to eat dinner early on, like let's say today, dinner early on Thursday, and then I'll eat dinner a little later on a Friday. So I get 24 hours, but I don't go a full day with no food.
Right.
So
I like that.
It's really not that challenging. And also, like, how many times does it have you as a traveler just not eating breakfast or lunch? It happens,
Right.
So if we can just structure it for a really busy day, drink a ton of water, you're feeling awesome. You triggered fat loss. You pushed through plateaus. It's fantastic.
Perfect. All right, so I believe you. I've said it before. I'm a big faster. I think it's important. We say I'm a big faster. I don't know if that made sense, but I like to fast, and I find that it becomes where you think. And I thought I never could fast. I thought, no way. I am not a kind of guy that can do that because I had this stuff. And once I started doing it, I'm like, it's actually not that hard. For me, it was the nighttime. It was getting through that late night craving that I had, especially coupled with the sugar craving and else. But what I found was, as I was getting, into the mid-afternoon, it was actually like almost challenging. I'm like, I can go longer. And I remember last year I did a 36-hour fast, and my wife and her friend had me go get pizza from my buddy from Rome, and I'm carrying this truffle oil pizza back. And I'm going, man, this
So
is really
rude.
challenging. And I didn't even want it.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And it was,
Congratulations.
wafting up into my face as I'm walking down, Main Street. I'm going, here it is. But I was like, she didn't know. She's like, I didn't know you were fasting. I said, I hadn't eaten anything, but I was trying to pay attention. But fasting, I think, is a really good way to, again, I don't know the science behind it. I don't research like you do. But everything I've read for people that are having or struggling with just losing that belly fat, it's one thing to lose a little bit. When you want to get deep and lose that deep fat, it's one of the best ways to do it. And I will tell any listener out there, you will be surprised that you can do this. Everyone, I think, stays away from fasting because they think it's so hard. And the fact is, it really isn't. We're just not accustomed to thinking we can do this. And we can, and it's easier than you think.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's especially if you just started off with a 24-hour fast with maybe even a caveat that I'll quit at 20 hours if I'm dying. And then I think what's cool is that you do a 36, then you do a 48, then you try a 72, and you're like, and all of a sudden that 24 is like, oh, that old thing, that's easy.
And water is such a great tool. And I've cheated. So I don't know if you call it consider cheating, but I drink a lot of green tea when I'm fasting.
Coffee, green tea, amino acids,
and it helps a lot. It gets your energy up. And for me, it's like, what I found out is that I think lots of times people can often confuse hunger with the fact that their stomach just needs some water. I mean, you drink a glass of water, you go out and kill a big glass of water at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night when you think you're hungry, and all of a sudden, magically, you're not hungry anymore. And you just did yourself a favor, and you stayed away from a bad decision that we all make. We're all human. None of us are, we all have it. You said, I can't have cookies in the house, right? So your kids don't get cookies. That's the bottom line. So, and we can have all the ice cream, we can have all the cookies in the world in my house. I'm fine with that stuff because it's not my thing. But what I'm here to agree with you and for our listeners is that you guys can do this. You will be surprised. I was the biggest person that said, no way. That's the one thing I can't do. I'll work out and I'll watch my diet, but there's no way I can fast. I can fast.
Yeah, and it's so nice, like what you said about the water too, because most of the time, especially when we're, I talk a lot about the difference between insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance. When we are insulin resistant, our bodies are always sending false signals of hunger, where you're like, man, I'm hungry. Are you thirsty? Or are you bored? Because we're just not interpreting those signals very well because we don't have a clear communication. Our bodies, our hormones and stuff are not functioning at a high level.
Right.
So like you said, if you're hungry, go kill a big glass of water, wait 10 minutes. And if you're still hungry, go have a snack. But 90% of the time, you're not going to be. And on those fasting days, that's a great time to I love to drink a big coffee on a fasting day. And my mind just goes crazy. Nothing in my stomach.
It's really wild. Awesome. I mean, I've taken it to the level. What I like to do. Tell me if this is nuts, but I find, well, first of all, you feel better. But it's the one thing people don't understand about fasting is you actually think you're going to feel like garbage, and the next day or even later on that day, you feel really good. I mean, starving, not starving.
As long as you're hydrated. If you're dehydrated, you'll feel like hot garbage.
Right, but keeping your body from all of that. You would think it would do the opposite, but it actually it energizes you, invigorates you. I think the green tea helps me because it kind of gets me going. What I do is actually I try to time it and plan it so that at the very end of my fast, I do a HIIT training, or I do something where I'm doing something, whether it's plyometrics or a high intensity interval training, and it's almost like. I don't know, that workout feels like I am just melting fat. It's probably all mental. It's like eating hot food and you think you're losing weight but when I'm doing a high intensity, I can't even talk, a HIIT training at the very end, and then I will go up and drink a protein shake, and then I'll wait a little while, then I'll go ahead and I try to break my fast slowly. I don't just gorge. I have a protein shake after I work out, and then I will wait about a half hour, 45, then I'll have something light, and I find I don't eat as much, and it's like you don't just sit there and go nuts on it too. But it's amazing how fasting, how good it can make you feel. And it kind of goes along with the biorhythms that you talk about a lot, and that is that recognizing how your biorhythms, your body changes things and taking advantage of it. Let's talk about that for a little bit if we can. And it kind of goes into sync with this whole thing. You're really in tune with your own body, and kind of paying attention to those biorhythms can really help accelerate fat loss if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I do the same thing with my fasting. Is I always try to end it. I do a walk. I don't do high intensity interval training, but I'll put a weight vest on and go for a walk. And man, you feel like you're just melting fat. It's incredible. And then I go home and I either break with a protein shake, like you said. I want something that's high nutrient density because my body's ready to like absorb a lot more of that. Or I do what I call my healing salad. My wife and I were traveling through South America for about a year, and after a bunch of cerveza and street food, like we needed to have something fresh, so we'd go to the market, and every place we could get avocados, tomatoes, lemon, green or red onion, and something else. And then we'd like mix that all together and have this like really just like nutrient dense salad. So I'll break my fast with that, and I feel so good. So yeah, but in terms of like the biorhythms, I really like to think about like when do you need energy? When do you need sleep? What do we need to do to accomplish those things? And again, going back to what we were talking about early on, is what questions should you be asking ahead of your meal in order to ascertain what you should eat? So rather than asking the question of what am I hungry for, what do I want, and the answer is for me is always a Cinnabon. I always want a Cinnabon, pretty much 90% of the time. It's like, how do I want to feel after this? Well, I have a podcast coming up. Well, I need to be on. I need to be on for that. I need to be up. So should I have a Cinnabon? Probably not. Should I have a salad? Yeah, great choice. How do I want to feel after my breakfast? Well, I want to have the time release energy. I want to burn more fat. High protein, high fats, perfect for that. How do I want to feel after dinner? Well, I want to start slowly transitioning to being more tired, more sleepy. Great. Well, having a higher carb meal is going to help your body shift into that. So you're going to want to sit down, relax, take a load off, shift towards that nighttime biorhythm. So again, just like, and that's not always the case. Maybe after lunch, you're like, man, I just want to nap. All the kids are gone. Like, I got some time. Great. You can manufacture that by adding in more carbs into that time. So it's not always like you have to be eating in this specific way, but it's ask yourself what you want to feel, what result you want from the meal, rather than what do I want my taste buds to enjoy right now. And that simple question can change so much.
So really thinking about what you need in the relatively near future to determine what you want to eat, as opposed to what am I hungry for.
And I was kind of recovering from a surgery 2 weeks ago, and normally I'm like up all day, and so at this time I was like, I want a nap at about 3 o'clock. I had like this great opportunity. It's like the first one I've had since my son was born. So I had just a big meal. I had a lot of rice, a lot of meat, and felt tired. Went to go take a nap. Took like a 2-hour nap. Unbelievable. Yeah. But it's really all about like what do you want next? What's happening next in your life that you need to be prepared for?
That's interesting. I mean, I think that's right. You know, and I mean, people agree with me or disagree with me, but I will find that I do a pre-workout drink because I find that I have a better workout. And I know young kids, young guys are like, oh, you're an old man, you need pre-workout. I'm like, yeah, it's probably not that great for me. I really do find one that both pre and post-workout, I'm very careful about sugar, obviously. I'm very careful about carbohydrates. So mine don't taste that great, but they do what they need to do. And for me, it gives me a better workout because I'm energized. I do more reps. I don't quit. I get focused. And I'll tell you what's changed with me this summer out here in California. My daughter just finished her freshman year out here, and I've been a home gym guy. I've built a gym basically over the last 20 years. So I like working at home because it's about me. I'm not trying to put on a show. I don't care about what the other guy next to me is doing, and I find I get hurt in gyms because I'm getting older. So I can curtail my workout. Well, I realized I missed gyms because my daughter wanted to go to the gym, and I was so proud that she wanted to go with me that she wanted me to show her the ropes as opposed to somebody else. And I was like, all right, I must be doing something right. She wants her, my 20-year-old, since she was 19, she turned 20. My 19-year-old girl was letting me take her to the gym. And I realized that I was taking too long to work out at home. I was getting distracted. I was playing around with this, with the company that I run. I was doing all kinds of things, and I was realizing that an hour and 15-minute workout was taking me 2.5 hours to accomplish because I happened to have laptops and phones and things like that. And my whole thing was get that stuff out. If you're gonna walk, don't have your phone if you need an emergency, but don't look at it. If you're gonna go and go to the gym, I mean, I just can't stand that people are sitting there on the bench that you need with the weights you want, and they're on their phone looking at whatever they're looking at. I'm like, get done and get out. I want to use that thing. So it's amazing how whether it's working out, getting into your morning routine, like you said, got to get rid of distractions. Get your if you're gonna meditate, if you're gonna have your reaffirmations, whatever you're gonna do all day long, or you're gonna take that nap. Don't be looking at your phone 5 minutes before you need to go to bed. And don't be staring at the terrible news of the world or whatever it is. Get in a good mindset and get away from some of that stuff and get the stuff done. I think it helps you get, whether it's working out or eating, go get your food done, and don't be sitting there looking at your phone while you're eating your stuff, right?
That's a good advice no matter what. Like, figure out what you want and then go after that single-mindedly rather than like trying to do trying to do it all at once, run your business and same time as your workout. Like, I got a home gym in my garage, but I've been going to the gym because I go there, I do my workout, and I go home, and it's
That's
fast.
exactly right. I guess that's what the point I was kind of making is that I find I'm so much more productive. I get there, I get it done, and of course, what was happening to me is for I wasn't getting the muscle fit. I wasn't wearing my muscles out. If I was working out, let's say my shoulders, I was spending so much time in between sets. I wasn't getting that burn. I wasn't tearing down that muscle tissue. So there was not a lot to recover from. So my results were less. And also I'm like, wow, if I actually get to a point of exhaustion where I'm, doing things what I'm supposed to be doing, like I used to do, and I found I'm starting to get big results again, which is what you don't. It's harder as you get older, right? I'm 55, and it's not easy to have results. But gee, maybe if you actually worked out and didn't sit on your phone, you're going to get better results. So. Well, fascinating. Let's talk about some things. Let's talk about, obviously, I'm going to have the team put up a lot of stuff for the book because, like you guys said, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle for free. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you get it for free on Kindle. Is that right?
That's right.
Which is awesome. I think a lot of people do that. The podcast, obviously, the $1 Million Body podcast. So you do a podcast pretty frequently. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
So you guys have different.
I do a live podcast. So no editing, just this, swearing a lot.
Right.
Once a week. It's in my Facebook group. So if you wanted to check it out live, ask questions and stuff like that, you can go to n8trainingsystems.com/group to check that out. Other than that, it's available on Stitcher, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the stuff.
I'd love to see some travelers get on groups that aren't just all about traveling and beating up companies and beating up vendors or anything else. This is a great, different kind of group that you can get onto that is going to really be helpful for overall everything else, personal growth, you name it. You put a lot of different things on your Facebook group, and the podcast you kind of mix up a little bit. So again, people should be listening to more than just book podcasts and things about it. This is a really good podcast too. And the same thing with your YouTube channel, right? You have the same YouTube channel. Is it how do they find you on YouTube?
Go to youtube.com/N8trainingsystems. So I used to think that I was like so clever because I was like Nate, like N8, and then I realized that I spend like 45% of my time being like, it's like 7, then 8. It's like 8. Also, Google hates having numbers in your URL, so
There
whatever.
you go. Well, perfect. Well, I could talk to you for a long time. Obviously, you and I have a lot of commonality. I think it's just I want people to want to get interested in this because I think it's important. And I'll tell you what. Last thing I'll say right now is that we know one thing that right now in our world is that being healthy, having less weight on your body is a smart thing right now. It's a healthy thing. It could be a life-saving thing. People can be politically want to, but at the end of the day, we know one thing, and that is that if you have body fat, you have there's just a lot of things that can cause problems. And right now, there's some pretty scary stuff that it can actually be a catalyst for, and that's just science. So do yourself this favor, and I hope everyone listens to Nate and takes some advice. Take that first step, guys. And that's what I want to do this episode for, and I loved having Nate on here. You're an awesome guest, as I mentioned in the pre-thing. So we could talk again. We hope to have you back on again. Check out all his stuff, everyone, because it's really good stuff, and it's just a different look at common sense is what I found. It's easy to follow, really good stuff to look at, and to me, it's a much less what's the word I'm looking for? It's an intimidating way of looking at health and weight loss than what you see out there. So I would advise everyone to check you out for sure. And as always, we appreciate having you on, Nate. It's good talking to you. Good to see you.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Really appreciate you, man.
We'll be in touch again soon.
All right, talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay, well, there you go. Like I said, I got to talk to Nate for a long time. He's got other things going on, but we could have done a 2-hour podcast on this one if we wanted to. So I think you guys understand what it is. There's so much to talk about. I think the best thing to advise you guys is to go check out his stuff. Again, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you get his stuff for free, and it's really inexpensive, but it's worth at least subscribing to his podcast, subscribing to his YouTube channel. You're going to learn some things. And like I've always said, here's another expert with maybe a different philosophy, but the same overall general concept. We didn't really talk that much about it. I'm just throwing some things out there, and he agrees with some of the stuff that I've learned, which means he's on the same page as anybody that wants to see you guys get healthy and see you guys get better. It will change your life. you will feel better. And feeling better is like 90% of it. Forget about, like you said, what you look like, or who cares if you're skinnier than your best friend, or if you got more muscles than the guy next to you. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you feel good. And that is what we just have to start focusing on. As a healthcare professional who travels all the time, you got to feel good. And doing some small things like we talked about, like water, getting that good high, good fat, but high fat, high protein breakfast in you, start that energy level going, all of that stuff, incredibly important and really well said. And I love the idea of let's focus on getting your energy level up, and then we can start to have, you'll see the results naturally of the rest of the stuff. And he's completely 100% right on with that. So wow, what a good episode. I hope to have Nate on. I hope to have all our guests back on, but we have so many great guests coming up. But I knew this would be a good one. Nate and I scheduled this one a while back, and we just couldn't get to it. But as always, guys, I appreciate you taking the time to watch and listen to us today. And again, just really good information. Got a whole bunch of great things coming up, some really good topics. Again, we're starting to move into that realm of getting some of the foundation out of the way, so you guys really understand what it is that we're trying to focus on with Travel Evolve, and then start to add some more of the higher level stuff. And we're never going to stop talking about physical fitness. We're never going to talk about mental health and physical health. It's just an important aspect of all of us in our lives. And then there you go. So as always, I really appreciate you guys spending some time with me today. Thank you so much for your subscriptions. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And I will catch you guys next time on Travel Evolved.